All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA show. So, what I want to talk about today is regarding men a lot of times not thinking they're attractive or not good looking. And the reason I bring this up is because I talk to a lot of these guys, especially younger guys, as a matter of fact. And a lot of times when talking to them, they start talking about the way they look. They don't like the way they look. Now, I'm not going to get into the body aspect of this in this podcast. That's a whole nother podcast. I am just going to get into the kind of the face. But a lot of guys, all different ages. I shouldn't just say young guys, middle-aged, even older guys, because I teach a Mastering Self-Confidence program to help my men find the woman or women of their dreams, and I help them with fashion, wardrobe, hygiene, and all these other things. And let's face it, what it's going to come down to a lot of times is guys becoming comfortable with the way they look, especially their face. And most aren't that comfortable. I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of women don't realize that a lot of men out there just don't think they're that good looking. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of guys out there that think they are good looking. You know, you have kind of both. But a lot of men, I think, a lot of times have a problem with certain things on their face or just the way they look in general. I also think a lot of men don't talk about it, but they kind of look at women differently because I think a lot of men think there's a lot of beautiful women out there because a lot of women, I think, for the most part, not all of them, take care of themselves maybe a little differently than a lot of men. They may take care of their hair on a higher level. They take care of their teeth, I think, too. They wear makeup. They may take care of their nails differently, their skin. And a lot of guys don't do that. So I think a lot of guys that, for one, are kind of intimidated by women for their looks, they also have a problem with the way they look, is what I should say, that they can't compete necessarily as far as looks goes a lot of times. Because a lot of times, a lot of men like beautiful looking women, but a lot of men also don't realize a lot of women don't look like that when they're not dressed up or, having all the things done that they do. Not saying that they're still not beautiful, but most men aren't going to put in the time or effort a lot of times like a woman would. And we also hear a lot of times when you're younger, as you age, a lot of men get better looking and women, may not, or they age differently. Not, everybody ages differently, but for the most part, a lot of women I even hear complain why it's unfair. As men get older in their 20s and 30s, even 40s, they get better looking, where a lot of women, they kind of lose their looks to a certain degree, which I don't necessarily believe that. I think, a lot of beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. I don't care what anybody tells me. And that's what I want to tell most men out there is, you can't look at what a lot of times on a big grand scale of what women a lot of times find attractive. Because I could assure you, if I lined up 100 women, I tell a lot of guys, each one of those women, will like a different type of looking man. Now, don't get me wrong. If you take certain men, it could be celebrity A-list actors, maybe that are very handsome. Yeah, a lot of women will be like, yeah, he's beautiful. He's got a great body. Yeah, that still doesn't mean that they don't like other types of looks. All right? That would be like a lot of guys, I can assure you, if I lined up 100 different guys, again, A-list models, whoever, they're going to look at that and go, yeah, that's beautiful, but I like a girl that looks like this, or back to the body. I like this kind of body. I like this kind of hair. I like these color eyes. I like this. Sure, again, there's a certain type of women just are extremely beautiful, and there's guys, again, that look amazing as well. But what men have to start looking at a lot of times is learning, and I say this in my modeling book, actually. I have a book, The Model Bible, is when it comes to models, it's about being unique and really having the confidence and the self-assurance that you know your strengths and you look the way you want to look. You most likely don't look like anyone else. I mean, sure, there's other people probably in the world that look like you. I'm not saying that. But you have your own unique look. Everything you do changes the dynamic of your face and the way you appear. You can cut your hair one way, you can dye it a different color, you can have your eyebrows one way, you can have your teeth look different, your skin tone can look different, your eye color could be different, how you wear glasses can be different. All these things all change the identity of who you are. And a lot of men, I don't think, take the time out to really discover what they really look like with different looks. especially with facial hair. You know, I did this once. I kind of goof around, but you could take, like, say I got a beard, and then I turn it into a goatee, let's say, hypothetically. Then I can have a mustache. Then I can just have something on my chin. Every one of those changes the dynamic of my face and makes me look differently. Does it make me look better looking? I don't know. Again, it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I may think it's better. Most other women may not. Some women may like it. Some, whatever. It is. My point being is you have to understand when you are who you are. You are most likely, if you look like a celebrity, for instance, and you want to look like that celebrity or do things to make yourself, so be it. But most people don't. Most people have their own identity. And I'm just going to give you a quick story. When I was making my second film, I had a very well-known, incredible actor out of Chicago. He ran one of the top acting shows and classes and all this. And I mean, he was a very big wig. He even took pictures with, say, a lot of people from Saturday Night Live cast members, and they did a big, like, reunion, and he was in the front of it. I was blown away, but I love this guy. And, just like a lot of actors, they're kind of, they look the way they look, right? They're not super polished. They kind of look rough around the edges. They're always on stage, or they're doing different characters, and mainly stage work in Chicago a lot of times at this point in time when I was making my film, which was in the early 2000s. Now there's a lot more television and film work being done there. But at this point in time, Toronto was kind of running the roost a little bit. But I went and I hired him to be one of my lead actors. And I said, here's the thing, dude, like, we got to shoot a scene, and it's a throwback to the 60s, and you're going to have to totally kind of change your appearance with haircut, clean cut, kind of military looking, like it's a whole different thing. I just want to let you know. He's like, no, I'm okay with that. I think I'm ready to try something new. I don't have a problem with that. I know I play different characters. I'm like, okay. So time went by, and we had to do it. And my aunt, who's one of the top few hairstylists in Chicago, she does all the television and movies, a lot of them. I think she's number 3 out of all of them. Doesn't mean she's the 3rd best hairstylist in Chicago. She's just been doing this throughout her life. So she used to come and do the hair for me for some of my shoots in my films. And she came and she cleaned him up and cut his hair. And he came out, and everybody was shocked at the way he looked. He couldn't believe the way he even looked. I mean, he was a handsome guy anyways, but he just looked very polished. And he kept looking at himself in the mirror. He's like, I never knew I can look like this. And he thought he looked handsome, and everybody else thought he looked handsome. He's like, I got to send photos to my parents. And this was really before the iPhone or anything. He's like, I actually got to go see my parents looking like this, because he's like, I think my parents would really appreciate me looking like this. And what was interesting is he aged, right? Like a lot of people. So he never saw himself looking like this, say 10 years. If you're an actor, you got all these different looks, but not this clean or polished, even clean shaved face and, really tight. And he was kind of amazed, and a lot of other people were. Now, like I said, he was handsome both ways. Let's whatever. But he was like, wow, I never knew I could even look like this. I've never gone with this type of look. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to kind of hold on to this for a while. I kind of like it. And the only reason I bring that up is, guys that are out there, if you don't like the way you look, I get it. But you also have to be open-minded to maybe change some things up and experiment. It could be, again, like I was mentioning earlier, your hair, different styles, longer, shorter. Same with facial hair, maybe trying different things again. Again, your skin tone, I talk about it a lot. People don't realize just by getting a little more color on their face can change the whole dynamic of what it looks like. Maybe it's time to shave your head, go clean. Maybe your hairstyle is just outdated as well. You may have been locked into something you think is good, or you let your hair grow too long, or you may have gotten plugs in the past. You may even have a toupee. I don't know what you have, but if you're not comfortable with the way you look, or you don't feel handsome, and if that's holding you back, let's make some changes to see what we can kind of help to build that self-confidence, that where you are happy, or with at least, your appearance to a certain degree. I will say a lot of times what I do tell guys is, if you do like certain celebrities, just saying, that may resemble you possibly, and it could be athletes, it could be social media influencers. I don't know. If you kind of like the way they look or certain pieces about them, give it a shot for yourself. That doesn't mean you have to emulate them exactly, but if you like a certain hairstyle, don't think you're knocking it off. Nobody in the world knows what the hell you're doing. If you like Bradley Cooper, Leonardo DiCaprio, hypothetically your favorite rock bands or athletes, you like some of the way they look, try it on yourself. Don't be afraid to do that. And here's the thing I'm going to kind of wrap it up with. And you may have seen this too. If you look at a lot of celebrities, I'm just using them because a lot of us know them. I don't care if they're rock stars, right? You may look at them and go, man, they look like this, or they don't look like they would get that type of woman. And you see them with either a supermodel or beautiful women, again, or an athlete. I get a lot of us will be like, oh, they only get those women because money, maybe. But a lot of dudes, and I call it the spotlight position. I get it, but I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of women, not only like, I call it spotlight positions, which would be athletes, actors, and musicians and things, but they like different type looking men. They like a unique type of guy, maybe a totally different type of hairstyle, maybe a totally just different look, like just being eccentric. Don't be afraid if you want to experiment doing that. Again, you don't know till you go out there. And a lot of people are afraid. They go with the same look year after year, decade after decade, and they feel insecure because of the way they look. You'd be shocked at how just some small changes can make you not only look better, but feel better. I call what I do working from the outside in. And some people are like, that's shallow, Rich. But I'm like, you know what? A lot of times all it takes is a new hairstyle or putting on a new pair of shades or, maybe growing a 5 o'clock shadow or doing something that gives like a man or even somebody younger, a teenager, somebody gives them the confidence to say, wow, look at me now. I feel already more confident just by the way I look and the way I'm appearing. And that will start something that will, I think, kind of light the fire in them to start building more confidence. A lot of times when it comes to building confidence, people always try to program or reprogram someone to say, no, it's got to start internally. You got to feel this way and you got to keep doing this and doing that. I'm like, I think sometimes simplicity is the best way to go. And no matter what anybody says, a lot of us are insecure because of the way we look. We don't want to say it. And a lot of the way we look sometimes to others is what's holding us back. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there. But definitely, listen, guys, I could assure you have so many more strengths. Also, don't look at your weaknesses. Yeah, you got bigger ears. Too bad. You got a bigger nose. Okay, you got bigger lips. You got big eyes. Your eyes aren't blue. Your hair, you wish you wouldn't have lost as much hair as you had. You wish you had more facial hair. You don't. Listen, we all have flaws. We all have strengths, though. Let's focus in a little more on the strengths instead of all those flaws. Because a lot of those flaws, no one really sees for the most part except yourself. Even with I know a lot of guys and women with the nose a lot of times. Don't get me wrong, you may have a bigger nose than other people, but I think a lot of times like a decent sized nose or like brings a lot of character to your face. And with the right hairstyle and the right look, all of a sudden can really work for you instead of you walking around thinking, this nose is what's destroying me. No women like a big nose. Or every time a woman looks at me or a guy or whoever, that they're disgusted. I can assure you, probably most of the time that's not the case. You're just thinking about that most of the time. A lot of people are judging you by the way you behave and the way and how respectful you are to others. And it's just not what you think a lot of times. It's just a lot of times in our head because maybe a few people said something to us. And also sometimes we're the only one who has a big problem. Like you may have a big forehead to a certain degree, but 99.9% of the time people are not walking up to you going, wow, you got a big forehead, or wow, it's a woman, I won't date this guy because he's got a big forehead. And if she does, who gives a shit? I can assure you there's millions of women out there, because there's 3.5 billion, that are going to, some are going to find you attractive. I don't care what the hell you look like to a certain degree. All right? So do not get obsessed and get caught up with thinking that you do not look good. I can assure you, you look probably a lot better than you think you do. Same with women. I talk about that all the time. Again, they're looking at all their flaws a lot of times, not all their strengths. I'm going to leave it there. If you want any other input or if you want to check out my program, Mastering Self-Confidence, that's at masteringselfconfidence.com, or you can go through richcelenza.com. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to hit me up. I love helping guys in any way I can. So that's all I got for you today. Take care.